Hi everybody. My name is Tim, and I'm one of the co-founders and CEO of Particula. And with Particula, we are building the first data platform and comparison tool in the intersection of sustainability and Web3. The first market we are going to tackle is actually one of the biggest growth markets within the next years and decades. It is the so-called voluntary carbon market. And the basic idea behind this market is to finance nature protection projects by the issuance of so-called CO2 certificates. And those certificates are the monetary equivalent of the CO2 captured or absorbed by the project. And while we are seeing more and more companies moving toward net zero targets based on the regulatory pressure, we will see that this market alone will grow by the factor of 15 within the next 7 years. And at the same time, the level of digitization in this market has to increase drastically because there are a lot of shortcomings and flaws at its current state. And it can be said that actually the voluntary carbon market is broken, and it faces a number of challenges that limits its effectiveness in fighting climate change. So when we look at the market, we can see a lack of transparency and liquidity based on the fact that nearly 100% of all trades are over the counter. And we have lots of intermediaries like traders or brokers in the process. And in 2021 alone, 650 million euros went into the pocket of those intermediaries. And at the same time, based on the low level of digitization, we have poor data quality and ongoing scams. So when we do not improve this market, people will lose completely faith in it within the next years. This is the spot where regenerative finance come into play. ReFi is a movement in the Web3 sector, which aims to make economics more integrative and sustainable. And by using blockchain as a transparent ledger, we are currently seeing over 200 projects who create a liquid, transparent, and easy accessible market everybody's dreaming of. So the supply side is there, but when we look at the demand side, we quickly realized that actually nobody is buying those digitized solutions. And we were asking ourselves, why is it that way? So we went out and spoke to over 200 industry experts and asked them, why aren't you taking advantage of this? And the three main reasons were always the same. It was all about regulatory uncertainty. So they didn't know how to handle, for instance, those digitized solutions in their balance sheet or in their tax declaration. It was all about security concerns, especially in times from FTX. And last but not least, nearly every ESG department is newly formed. And they have a lot of challenges within the next years based on the regulatory pressure. So they simply do not have the time and resources to conduct their own research and are not able to compare those digitized solutions to find the best one for themselves. And that is really a problem because in this month, over 5,000 companies committed themselves to get to zero, and we need those digitized solutions to do so. This is why we came up with Particula. Particula is the first analysis and comparison platform that rates those digitized solutions based on their quality. And while doing so, we are especially focusing on regulatory, security, and compliance aspects to close the information gap, which was described by the various stakeholders. Our aim is to put the technology behind the curtain and to make the transition for those classical players as easy as possible. And that's the reason why we built our platform like a classical ESG database. So they can come easily on, search and filter for projects based on their preferences and needs, and in the second step, compare them side by side. Furthermore, we support them in the buying process, and after they finish the buying process, they can come back and use our various analyze tools, like inventory management, portfolio management, and also APIs to track their regulatory reports, which they will need within the next few years. And to make the comparison as easy as possible, we provide quality ratings and in-depth reports. When we look at the current market and our competitor landscape, our standalone features are, of course, the number of integrated projects, the depth of our analysis, and that we are focusing not only on the factors which are important for the head of ESG, but also for the CFO who finalizes the buying process. But the voluntary carbon market is just the beginning. So within the next few years, we will see more and more money flow into sustainable assets, which are built on the blockchain to increase their transparency and liquidity. So we are pretty convinced that within the next few years, investors will need reliable data for those assets to make effective and efficient investment decisions. So we are pretty convinced that the intersection of sustainability and Web3 is one of the biggest market opportunities. And we are going to tackle this opportunity with our diverse team. So besides me, there's Wolfram and there's Nadine. And Wolfram has an extensive background in the software industry. So he will ensure that our database not only uses the latest technology, but also is built by industry best practices. While Nadine is an expert for business development and sustainability. So she will ensure that we will meet all our stakeholder needs. And last but not least, I've got a background in finance and crypto regulation. So I will ensure the quality and depth of our ratings and reports. In summary, we are making investing in the intersection of sustainability and Web3 more understandable, easier, and more transparent. We are very happy to be at the forefront of this new movement and would like to invite you to be part of our mission. So join our waiting list and be one of the first to access our platform. Thank you very much for listening, and I'm really looking forward to your questions.
Thanks very much for that, Tim and Wolfram. I'll bring the judges up for your Q&A now.
Cool. Shall I start this time, Sarah?
Yes, for sure.
Cool. So I think very obvious use case, we've looked at some of these plays already. Would you say from a positioning standpoint, Senken is the one closest to what you guys are doing in Berlin?
Senken is actually a marketplace, and they are integrated projects on a technical way and do not provide that deep information about it. So we're not aiming to be a marketplace because it's a hurdle to scale. The technical integration of various providers on various chains take a long time. And of course, not everybody is willing to onboard on marketplaces. So currently, also to be slim and slow in regard to regulation here in Germany, we are working with a referral system. So we refer to the website of the token issuer, and this ensures that we will not fall under something like financial advice here in Germany, or we would need a license from the BaFin to do so.
Okay, but I mean, for me as a customer, probably it's much easier if I can select from different projects and bundle it basically into one, right? So, but I mean, it's just about, I understand why you're doing it, but long-term convenience with regards to the end user or the company might be a different one, and the marketplace might more sense. And I think they just got also 5 or 6 or 7 million funding. So I would probably look out for these guys. And then I think the other thing, which is a big concern in this one, of course, the one is bringing people together and giving access, but the other very big problem is actually rating and reliability of those projects. And there was just this big scandal that we all know about, the people who had scammed it and so on. So how do you, I mean, is that even on the horizon of how you can, I mean, because you probably can't even judge it, right? But then the question is, where is the value? Are you just a listing, or what is the additional value? Is it, okay, I have everybody on this page, okay, it's great, but then the real interesting thing is what you said is okay, am I secure that this is a real project? How can I get easy access to it? Is it compliant with regulatory affairs? So if you can't solve this, then you don't really solve the problem, right? I don't know if you're doing it.
Yeah, we're actually building ratings. So we're not aiming to only list those projects, but currently in a phase where firsthand, it's a multi-phase project, unfortunately, because we're on the greenfield. So there are no standardization, for instance, to describe what is a tokenized credit and what is a crypto native credit. It's totally different. And to compare apples with apples, we have to define at the first hand what it is. And in the next step, we are creating a framework for the evaluation of those tokens. And it will be pretty similar to the rating of a green bond, actually. So we spoke to the biggest 20 ESG databases, asked how they work, and also banks, and asked them how they would tackle the problem. And one of the main problems is that the data quality and availability is pretty poor. So we have to work with something like transparency scores also to include the information which are not available also in the rating. And green bonds actually also work that way, at least in the right direction with those transparency scores. So the value add should definitely be to create those ratings. And of course, we are speaking to customers, and this fits also within the first question, because multiple marketplaces only provide something like a own wallet structure. So companies are looking not for this. They don't want to set up something like MetaMask or use a Gnosis safe. They want to have at least an API to their internal accounting and invoice, or they want somebody who holds the token in custody. And of course, this is an opportunity, but then you're going into the marketplace field, and of course, you are highly regulated. So I guess our future picture is to be something like Sustainalytics, MSCI. They aren't a marketplace at all. They only provide information which investors need to allocate capital.
So it's more a subscription marketplace potentially. So you're not taking necessarily a cut of whatever is bought, but you say pay whatever X per month, and then that's it.
Yeah, it's a multi-sided platform. So at the one hand side, we have the customers, which could be banks, asset managers, and so on and so forth. This side will actually work like a classical ESG database, where you have a subscription-based model, and in the long run, every big database works with modularization, so they exclude various services. But on the other side, we positioned ourselves as an expert and also built an expert network with tax advisors, lawyers, smart contract auditors to help to build the data reliability we need. So we are also working with the token providers, something like commission fees with our network to recommend them. And of course, we are also taking listing fees for those tokens. And in the classical market, it's actually that way that the companies are or they have to buy the ratings. So they are paying for ratings. But I guess this is also a conflict of interest or potential conflict of interest.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks so much for this. Sarah, do you have a question? If not, we'll move on to the next startup.
Yeah, so I also wanted to understand the due diligence process a little better. Maybe one quick question in addition. So the carbon market is one of the most popular examples at the moment, but I think there are like a lot more areas in the refi space. Can you maybe name some more, and what is like the second biggest that is now kind of coming up?
I guess the second biggest, which we are going to tackle, is the market for renewable energy certificates, because it has actually the same shortcomings, or nearly the same as the voluntary carbon market. But of course, there are some other fields where we're going to be active. I guess one of the biggest behind renewable energy is project financing. So we are talking to various providers, and also Neosphere, the venture arm of the Commerzbank, or yesterday or 2 days ago launched such a place where you can do project financing, and there were various providers who are using blockchain as an infrastructure. So this will be a huge market also in the future.
Thank you.